Welcome back to the channel, guys. This is episode 6 of Oilers This Week. I am your host, Gene Edwards, and this is the week ending February 19th, 2022. So, I am going to add some new content into this episode, as I am going to give you a trade rumor section that pertains to the Oilers, or a signing rumor, whatever. Basically a roster rumor of some sort. So I'm going to be adding that in this week. I know last week I said I was not going to cover the Winnipeg Jets game. I think I am going to cover it because they play Winnipeg very early on Saturday. It's a 1 p.m. start, and then the following week they play Florida at 9:30. So I think I'm going to cover these Saturday games. I think I'll have enough time to give you a real up-to-date status, even though I said in episode 5 that I'm not going to do Saturday games. That going forward is going to stay true. If they are after 4 p.m., I'm probably going to do that game the following week. So anyway, let's get into the lines that Jay Woodcroft has put together, and guess what? There's no change whatsoever. It's the exact same lines from the last game. Hyman, McDavid, Pugliari, Kane, Draisaitl, Yamamoto, Fogle, Nuge, Ryan, Benson, McLeod, and Broberg as the 7th defenseman. Then he's going to have Nurse and Bouchard, Legason with CC, Niemelainen with Barry, and I know this says Smith over Skinner, but it has been confirmed that Skinner is starting this game against San Jose tonight. So I'm going to use that as the lineup starter. So the notable injuries we have, of course, still Oscar Klefbom. He's not going to play at all this year. I don't think Josh Archibald is going to be playing this year as well. So got Koskinen on COVID protocol. Zach Cassian is one of the more recent ones that got hurt, as he has a broken jaw. 4 to 8 weeks is what I heard. Duncan Keith is out 2 to 4 weeks in concussion protocol after going in awkwardly into the boards in that Chicago game. And Kyle Turris. Okay, so the one thing that I took from this morning's presser, and this is Monday morning I'm referring to, is Jay Woodcroft is keeping the lines the same. And one of Ken Holland's big things that he said right from the moment that we signed him as the general manager of the Edmonton Oilers was he wanted stability. I think he's finally got a coach that is going to tweak around, but he's pretty much going to stay on the stable things. But I guess we have to wait until he gets his first loss, and then we'll really know for sure. But I like what he's brought to the table so far. Another new element I'm bringing this week is I am going to bring you a league stat reference of where the Oilers rank on 5 particular stats. Those stats are going to be shooting percentage, power play percentage, penalty kill, goals against average, and save percentage. So, I did my research last night. Right now, for goals per game, the Oilers rank 12th in the league with a 3.18 goals per game. Their shooting percentage is at 16th overall in the league with a 9.5. Their power play percentage, surprisingly enough, despite how bad it was, is still 2nd in the league with a 28.1 league percentage. Again, these stats are based on Monday, okay? So if by the time this video comes out, they'll probably be changing. So just take it for what it was on Monday. So anyway, their penalty kill is 24th in the league. So this is something that's really hurting. They got to really improve the penalty kill. They are at 76.5%. The goals against average is another thing, 23rd in the league. And this is combined with both goaltenders. This is both Mike, or all 3 goaltenders, I guess. Smith, Mika, and Skinner. So yeah, 23 with a 3.27, and their save percentage is 26 in the league with a 9.02 save percentage. So not good at all. Those combined stats average out to 17. So right now they're hovering, with those 5 stats, hovering around 17th best in the league. So they're kind of in the middle of the pack. So hopefully we start seeing improvement. Next week when I report this stat, I am going to be also telling you how much they moved up and how much they've moved down, if they've gone up or down with the plus minuses. So if they're improving or not improving. So I think it's going to be a fun little stat to add. Anyway, let's get right into the business of the day. We got 3 games to report on, as the Oilers are playing San Jose on Monday, Los Angeles on Tuesday. These are both road games. And then they're going to be at home on Thursday against the Anaheim Ducks. And like I said, I'm probably going to report the Winnipeg game, since it is a 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time start on Saturday. And then, like I said, the following week they play Florida, and that's a 9:30 Pacific Standard Time start. So I think I could probably get these videos in, get everything rendered and uploaded to YouTube for the Sunday 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time release. All right, let's get into the first game. This is Oilers versus San Jose. Well, that was a pretty impressive game, I must say. This was probably the most defensively sound Edmonton Oilers game I've seen this year. They fortified the blue line. It was basically a 5-man wall that they put up at the blue line, and if that got penetrated, they made a small box in front of the net. It was something else to see. It was definitely a different look for the Edmonton Oilers. Now, that being said, they were playing a San Jose Shark team that has only played, or hasn't played, in 13 days, and that's going to apply to Los Angeles tomorrow night as well. But wow, so far I'm liking what Jay Woodcroft is bringing to the table. Connor McDavid had under 20 minutes playing time tonight, so you can tell he's utilizing all lines. And he's so far, he's impressed me, but I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch, if you know what I mean. So anyway, let's get into the scoring summary. It was Warren Fogel's 6th of the year, first in 14 games, from Ryan and Bouchard at 6:05. A minute later, it was Darnell Nurse from Ryan Nugent-Hopkins at 7:10. There was no second period scoring. And in the third period, Connor McDavid got his 24th from Evan Bouchard. I tell you what, Evan Bouchard's really coming around. He's starting to really see him on the scoring summary a lot more often. He's really finding his game, so I'm really liking how he has developed. So the stats for this game was Edmonton led the shots on goal 41-20. The face-off percentage 51.9. It was Edmonton as well. San Jose led in hits 16-12, and they led in block shots 12-7. This was, I think I mentioned it earlier, this was the first game that San Jose played in 13 days, and that's going to apply to the Los Angeles Kings tomorrow night as well. So yeah, like, really good effort. Let's keep it rolling, boys. All right, I am going to go into the potential trade and free agent targets that the Edmonton Oilers should be going after either by the deadline or this summer. All right, so this is a new section that I am going to put in to the videos that I do. This is what I call the potential trade free agent targets that the Oilers may be having. So we're going to start with the number one potential. And I'm going to just say right now, these are all goaltenders that I think that the Oilers could be targeting. And there's 3 of them. And I'm going to go in order from least likely to likely. So the third on my list is Marc-Andre Fleury. He is a $7 million cap hit, set to be a UFA at the end of this season with the Chicago Blackhawks. Chicago are on the outside looking in. are very unlikely to make the playoffs this year. Fleury is an aging goalie that I think would like another kick at the can for being a Hall of Famer, because he is going to be a Hall of Famer one day. But I could see the Oilers maybe having some interest. However, this one has kind of tapered down just a little bit over the last little while. This was more heating up back in December when there was all those issues with, well, it was a bit of Koskinen having some issues, but it was a lot of defensive breakdown back then too. So this has kind of cooled off a little bit. That's why this is my third likely target. My second likely target, and we've seen the Oilers do this last season to the exact same team, and that is going after Jack Campbell of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like I said, the Oilers went after Zach Hyman. They picked him up as a free agent for nothing. Toronto lost, and I think he is going to price himself out of the Toronto market as well. He right now is a 1.65 cap hit, set to be a UFA this offseason. And I could see the Oilers making a pitch for him, maybe $4.5-5 million a year, as Koskinen will be off the books as well. So I think this is a legit target. The number one target I think that the Oilers are going to go after is Ville Husso of the St. Louis Blues. But this one I do not believe will be a trade deadline. I believe this will be an off season. And it even became a little bit more stronger as of last night with Stuart Skinner getting the shutout. He has some pretty good numbers. He has 10 wins, 3 losses. His goals against average is a 1.84 and a 941 save percentage. I could really see them go after this Finnish goalie. He looks pretty legit. That, I think, is who the Oilers are going to target. So that brings me to the Twitter question of the week. My question is, which of these 3 is most likely to wind up in Edmonton? All right, give me your feedback, guys, and we'll soon see. Anyway, let's talk about the Edmonton Oilers and the Los Angeles Kings. 3-0 under Jay Woodcroft. Pretty impressed right now so far. He is now the first ever Edmonton Oiler head coach to start their coaching career with the Oilers going 3-0. No Edmonton Oiler coach has done that. Awesome win last night. Real tight game, nail-biter game despite the 5-2 final. But it was a good one. It was the master versus the apprentice, as Woodcroft was an assistant coach under Todd McClellan here in Edmonton, and I believe when he was in San Jose as well. So it was a doozy, and I'm loving the way the Oilers are playing right now, and they are currently third in the Pacific after that win. So bring it on, boys. Bring it on. As far as the scoring summary goes, at 16 minutes, it was LA's Arthur Kaliev, if I'm pronouncing that correct. His 9th of the year from Brendan Lemieux. In the second period, it was Connor McDavid tying it up at 1-1 apiece. That was his 25th from Jesse Puljujarvi. And we go into the third period where at the 7:44 minute mark, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins gets the icebreaker from Warren Foegele and Derek Ryan. And then Phillip Danault of LA gets his 13th at 11:42. It's 2-2. And an unlikely hero, Kyler Yamamoto, gets the game winner at 15:14 from Kane and Draisaitl. Like I said, this was a nail-biter. There was 2 empty goals, Zach Hyman from Tyson Barrie and McDavid, and Kane from Ceci. But this was a nail-biter. The notable stats for this game was the big 3 McDavid, Draisaitl, and Nuge all had plus 20 minutes. So you can see how Woodcroft is utilizing those players when he needs to. And if he doesn't need to, he kind of shuts them down like he did in the game against San Jose. Hyman and Kane led the team in hits with 4 apiece. LA was really taking it to us on the faceoff dot, though, as they had 57.7% of the wins. Both didn't have a power play goal last night, and Edmonton had 4 attempts. LA had 5 attempts, so no one had a power play goal, which was kind of odd with that many attempts. But like I say, this was a tight game. The season series now is 1 game apiece. For me, the stars of the game were Yamamoto for the game winner, Daigneault for tying it 2-2, and Darnell Nurse. And I'm going to give an honorable star mention on this one, and that's to Evander Kane for giving Brendan Lemieux a little pop. I was actually quite pleased with that. But yeah, so right now the Oilers are 3-0 under Woodcroft, and they will play the Anaheim Mighty Ducks next. All right, so just a thought. It's not really a news of the day. It's more a perspective, a thought on what is actually going on in the NHL. And I'm going to talk today about cap circumvention. This is kind of a flawed system that they have in the NHL because salaries are paid for what the player does throughout the season. They are not paid for playoffs. So, come playoff time, if, say, a player was hurt, they can keep all those players that they acquired while he was hurt, and they can go into the playoffs with being over the cap. It's kind of a loophole that the NHL has put themselves into. I think now it's time to give some serious consideration to a luxury tax. I was all for the salary cap. I really do want teams to be equal, but the way this is set up, it's not, and for other reasons too. Different. You look in Canada here, you look at the Oilers and how much they have to pay income tax, and then you go to a place like Vegas where there is no income tax. So it's still a flawed system any way you slice it. It is not equal like everyone thinks it is. But this cap circumvention really it's kind of a dirty way to play. So like last year, the cap was $81 million. Nikita Kucherov got hurt. He was out 4 to 6 months. So when he came back, they were 17.3 over the cap hit with all the acquirements that they did throughout that time. And I remember being upset about this. And when I did the research to do this piece, I didn't realize how far back this goes. The Chicago Blackhawks did it in 2015 with Patrick Kane. When he got injured, it freed up $6.5 million in cap space. They were able to acquire Kimmo Timonen, Anton Vernet, and Andrew Desjardins. And ironically enough, it was against those Tampa Bay Lightning. So maybe Tampa Bay Lightning kind of said, oh, okay, well, what's good for you? It's good for me. St. Louis, they were just over $90 million over the cap. So I think my point being to this is I think it's time that the NHL, obviously it's going to have to be on the next CBA. This one is going to be pretty much stuck for a while. But on the next CBA, they have to maybe consider getting rid of the cap and introducing a luxury tax. So basically, you're allowed to spend up to X amount of dollars. If you surpass that X amount of dollars, you get taxed and then have different various levels of how much you go. So if you're at, say, at that time, by the time the new CBA is, there'll probably be a $90 million cap hit. If you're at 90 million and you make it within 90 million, you don't pay any taxes. If you're at 110 million, you pay like a 5% tax. If you're at 150 million, you pay like a 20% tax or something like that. Have it in different levels. I think the NHL should really consider this. I think it would also generate more revenue for the NHL itself, because I think some teams are willing to go over and pay that cap hit penalty to improve their team to get themselves a Stanley Cup. Anyway, so it's just my thoughts. Hopefully it does change, because right now, as much as we think the salary cap, the way it is right now, is a system to make all parties equal, it's actually not. When you have different tax brackets in different states, different tax brackets in different provinces, different tax brackets in countries, and then you have countries like Canada that was doing very minimal attendance for COVID. There's a lot of revenue being lost on that kind of stuff. So it's not as much as they say it's an even playing field. It's not. That being said, putting in a not profit sharing, a luxury tax, I think would be the best answer for the cap. I was all for the cap. I love the cap. I thought it would be great, because I was one of those guys back in the early 90s just choked that the New York Rangers were over $200 million. And I actually laughed when they actually didn't do very well. But to being over $200 million, and then the Edmonton Oilers, I think, were only at $50 million. Like, that's... I was just like, ugh. But if you put in a luxury tax, I think that would solve that issue. Anyway, those are just my thoughts. Feel free to comment on the comment section. And we are going to go on to the Edmonton Oilers versus the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. Okay, the Edmonton Oilers are now 4-0 with Jay Woodcroft behind the bench. They are outshooting their opponents 17-6 as they beat the Anaheim Ducks yesterday 7-3 at the Rogers Centre in Edmonton. This game did not look like it was heading in that direction, as Anaheim scored twice on 2 power play goals early in the first period and absolutely robbed McDavid on 3 grade A shots. I really didn't think it was going to be the result that ended up being, which was a 7-3 final. But the Oilers were able to, once the 2 goals happened, the Oilers were able to answer back with 5 unanswered goals from 5 different players, which is great to see that the secondary scoring is finally starting to wake up. Unfortunately, Jesse Puljujarvi did get hurt in this game with a lower body injury. It's undisclosed what happened. We don't even know where it happened. So hopefully it's nothing major. But we'll see. So for the scoring summary, it was Adam Henrique getting the first goal of the game for Anaheim at 4:39 from Fowler and Silverberg. At 14:14, it was Sonny Milano, again a power play goal from Zegras and Drysdale. And then to end off the period, Oilers came back with 1 from Evander Kane. Again, it's another power play goal from Evan Bouchard and Ryan McLeod. We have a 2-1 game after the first period. In the second period, Derek Ryan gets his 4th at 4:12 of the second from Ceci and Warren Foegele. Jesse Puljujarvi gets his 12th from McDavid and Hyman at 7:26. Leon Draisaitl gets his 34th of the year at 10:21 from Ryan McLeod and Evander Kane. In the third period, Warren Foegele gets his 7th from Derek Ryan and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, followed by Trevor Zegras getting 1 back for Anaheim at 9:17. This was his 13th from Milano and Raquel. And Draisaitl gets his 2nd of the night, his 35th of the season, well en route to a 50-goal season. This was an unassisted goal at 10:19, and it was capped off by Zach Hyman from McDavid and Yamamoto, at 11:37. Just an amazing game. Like, it's nice to actually see a game where you're not on the edge of your seat and like just biting your nails. Like, are they going to pull this off? Your 3 stars for this game was Derek Ryan, Ryan McLeod, and Warren Foegele. Kane led the way with six hits. Legason had 5 hits. The Oilers outshot the Ducks 41-30. And as far as the faceoffs go, it was fairly even, as Oilers just edged out the Ducks 50.9%. Anaheim was 2 for 3 on the power play, so yeah, their power play was awesome last night. And our penalty kill was actually pretty sloppy, which it has improved prior to this game, but last night it wasn't that good. As far as the season series goes, it is 2-0 for the Oilers, with the final meeting on April the 3rd. And yeah, I like what we're seeing here. Keep it up, boys, and let's get on to the Winnipeg Jets review for Saturday. All right, everyone. Jay Woodcroft is a perfect 5-0 since taking over as Oilers bench boss last week. This was a game that was pretty close. It went down to the wire. The first few periods was pretty much Edmonton the whole way through, but then Winnipeg did start picking up some steam at the 10-minute mark of the third period. The Oilers killed a 2-man advantage of 1 minute and 30 seconds in the first period, which had me a little bit worried. They were very hard on pucks, very hard on the forecheck. I really like what I saw out of them. So about 45 out of the 60 minutes, the Oilers, I think, commanded the game. The first 5 minutes, I think it was pretty equal. And the last 10 minutes, the Oilers were actually really sucking wind and really struggling to get out of their zone as Winnipeg was really pressing hard. So in the first period, it was Zach Hyman getting his 17th on the power play at 12-17 from Barrie and McDavid. It ends the first period as 1-0. Second period, it was Yamamoto, his 10th of the year from McDavid at 7:46. And then at 10:50 from an absolute beauty backhand that Leon Draisaitl gave to Connor McDavid. This backhand is, it hands down, is the best backhand in the league, as far as I'm concerned. Just a beauty of a backhand. The secondary assist was Barrie on it, but yeah, it was McDavid's 26 from that pass, and now we have a 3-0 game going into the third. And this is when Winnipeg actually started making a game of it. For the first 10 minutes, Edmonton still had control. However, while on the power play, the Oilers gave up not 1 but 2 breakaways. This is something that they better clean up, because one of them actually caught up with them as it was Laurie scoring from Tonito at 10:45, and then at 14:38, Connor from Wheeler and Morrissey. We now have a 3-2 game, and I'm gripping the couch and almost putting holes into it with my fingers as I was really starting to get nervous about how this was going to end. But at 19:57, Darnell Nurse throws a puck 200 feet down the ice into the empty net to make it a 4-2 final. And now the Oilers are third in the Pacific. They are 1 point back of Vegas and 3 points back of Calgary. They are 7th in the conference. And they have Minnesota, Tampa Bay, and Florida upcoming here. Minnesota is on Sunday, Tampa Wednesday, and Florida on Saturday. So they get a little bit of rest, as they have only 3 games in the next 7 days. And then they'll have another crazy week in 2 weeks from now. So anyway, right on. Love what I'm seeing out of the Oilers. Everyone in the media is saying, hey, Calgary might win the Stanley Cup and all this kind of stuff. And you know what? They might. I'm not going to rule that out. But hey, don't count Edmonton out either, you guys. This team is legit now, and we'll see what happens. Okay, we will see you next week.